Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties. Thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. It is bracket season, and there is no company that will print out finer brackets quite like our friends at Copiers Plus. And that way you can also see who's abusing the privileges of printing out all those brackets. That is Copiers Plus. So check them out, copiers-plus.com. What a weekend, Joe.
There's a lot to get into.
Two emergency podcasts in 3 days and an after dark in between. We start on Friday with Mikko. We got a Duke Carolina game on Saturday, and then Kevin Keatts gets fired on Sunday morning. What a freaking weekend.
We've done 3 extra podcasts, haven't we?
We have.
Wow.
And we're about to go into even more extra podcast mode.
Hey, big shouts to Duke, though. Because the year of the Wolf is over, but the year of the OG ain't. Duke winning that game, and now you're like, oh, Jill, you hate Duke or you hate Carolina. No. I did not want to do After Darks after 9:30 basketball games.
Absolutely not.
So Duke getting that top seed and playing at noon, shouts to our guy, John Shire. Way to pick us up.
I love it. Absolutely. All right. So when we last left you, we were reacting in real time to Kevin Keatts being told, hey, man, forever grateful, but it's time to go off in a new direction. A lot of reactions come into that. Got a lot of calls on the sports phone, which we'll get to later on in the show. But we've now moved on to the who's it going to be? Who are the candidates? Who's going to take that job? Couple quick things before we get into that, because I think this is important context about this NC State coaching search versus the previous NC State basketball coaching searches. Something that I said on Sunday has proven out to be true. This is not post Stendek. This is not post Lowe. Hell, this is not even post Gottfried for a lot of different reasons. One, the media landscape has completely changed. 2, as you get further and further away from those who looked at NC State with Herb Sendek and Coach K and Roy Williams and all this other stuff, the landscape around here has changed, and how you view NC State and the ACC as a whole factors in how you talk about NC State. And one of the things that I said was, you are not going to get the level of, well, what do you expect, State? What are you doing, State? I was listening to the Ion College Basketball podcast on my drive in this morning, and Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander both agreed, yeah, NC State had to do this. If you were ready to go, and Norlander gave his version of the events regarding Kevin Keatts last year before the ACC tournament run, the package was ready. This is something that you confirmed with Kevin Keatts over the summer. This is something that was confirmed by Matt Norlander. They were ready to move on last year before the run happened. And I think consensus-wise, most people look at the situation at NC State, look at the overall record, and go, yeah, that makes sense. If you were ready to move on then, and you followed it up with the year you had this year, then it was go ahead, and if you have the financials to make it work, you might as well do it. And that's where we get to where we are right now, Joe. As you said yesterday, the financials clearly there. Somebody stepped up to make that buyout happen. Now the question is, who will step up to get the coach and put everything together so that everybody's on the same page, so that NC State doesn't find itself mired in more average to below average basketball?
Yeah, it's probably the same person. It's probably Brian McMurray.
Yeah.
He gave that endowment for the athletic director position. Quietly, he has kind of emerged as the new Wendell Murphy with the NC State collective, whether it's picking up some unpaid tabs on the football side, or my understanding, he's been heavily invested on the basketball side. So, kind of piggybacking off of your point from yesterday, if you were the one giving the money to Kevin Keatts the last 2 years, and he was as public as he was, Kevin was as public as he was the last few weeks, you'd look at that and be like, hey, wait a second. $2 million doesn't seem like a lot, and it's not in the grand context of college basketball and payrolls.
But when it's my $2 million,
and I would look at that and be like, now, wait a second.
Hold up.
Now, again, I think one more quick point about Kevin's buyout. Yes, they owe him the remainder of his base times the years remaining. Okay. Which my understanding is the number's closer to 7.7 is the full number.
Okay.
That's not a check they write today. he'll get paid. I believe the way it works is you get paid once a year. Okay, for the next 5 years that he's owed the money.
And does that include minus whatever job he gets next?
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what Kevin wants to do. He said he's in the transfer portal. I know. Kevin's way too young to never coach again.
Oh, he'll coach.
There's only one spiteful coach that you and I both know, and that was Steve Logan. Who basically told ECU over my dead body. Like, I'm going to go coach in Frankfurt for free while you pay me. And it was pittance in comparison to what NC State.
There's two. Kevin. There's two. Logan is one of them. And yes, you will pay me every cent that you owe me. And Butch Davis.
Butch was the real G on this one.
Oh, no.
The executive to the assistant to the associate principal.
It's not a coaching job. It's like a consultant.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No big deal.
So there's that. Like, so 7.7 could be the total that they end up paying.
Yeah.
But 1.5 is probably closer to it if Kevin spends a year out of coaching. Then, of course, there's an offset to that. So that may not be as big of a barrier as I had perceived it to be, even a week ago.
Sure.
Right. But I think financially is the situation that NC State needs to be motivated for whoever comes next. And Jeff Goodman had pointed out yesterday that Will Wade is someone that NC State is interested in. Keep in mind now, I'm going to try to differentiate this. When I put something out, it's from people who are directly involved. Okay. Now this would be from people not with direct knowledge. Okay. The word around the collective campfire, the money people in NC State.
Yeah.
But these are fans. Now it's their money that's going to have to be invested. So they have a say. The word is that Will Wade is the top target. Okay. Now, I don't have direct access to Will. I have two indirect accesses to Will. Okay. 2. And they both said, yeah, it's a thing, but it's not done. It's not like done. I had people texting me yesterday, it's done. It's going to be Will. And I was like, oh, that's really fast, but it makes sense. Again, if you had a package,
it has to be fast.
A, it has to be fast. B, if you had a package and things and a plan last year, then you have a plan this year.
Yes.
You're not doing this without a plan. There is this, juxtaposition to me that, and it's not about where we are in college basketball now with Will Wade. Will Wade's an excellent coach, by the way. It's more so about when Boo was hired in 2019, it was specifically to fix the NCAA issues. And he took that responsibility very seriously. And the last time I actually talked to him, he was kind of offended that he's never really gotten the credit for navigating NC State through that situation the way that he did. It kind of hurt his feelings. He felt like he was going to get more of a reception for the way that they didn't get a tournament ban. They got 2 years probation, lost a couple scholarships. Really, ultimately, was a win for him.
Yes.
And because of all the other things that were happening in the world, pandemic, this, that, the other, he never really got credit for that. I'm just trying to paint a picture here for you.
No. I understand the sentiment. I don't disagree with the sentiment, but you also have to have the context that he was the polar opposite of the AD that came before him in terms of being out there to receive the credit. You see what I'm getting at? I understand you want the credit, but if you're not out there, it's hard to receive it publicly in that way.
Well, don't forget he's good friends with Bubba Cunningham. I think Bubba got his just credit for getting Carolina through their great unpleasantness of the tens and the teens, right?
My point still stands.
I agree. So it's just, to me, there's like this juxtaposition of, if you would have told Boo back in 19, and remember, Will was with a strong ass offer. He ultimately ended up being fired by LSU. That's how he ended up at McNeese. I think if you would have told him back in 19, this is going to be the guy who potentially you would target, he would have been like, no way. That's not something that we would do, because that was the mindset of 19, and that was those were the problems of a different era.
Yeah.
I think you could easily justify hiring Will in this era. Easily.
Yes, easily.
Now, the question is, this is such a weird cycle, right? We had Miami and Florida State both hire assistants almost silently. My understanding is that Justin Gainey had a real shot at the Florida State job. Okay. So that was in play.
Luke Laux ends up getting it, which I believe I sprouted more gray hair in my beard because of that.
Because, you were there when he was on their ACC championship team in 2012.
Jeez.
So we've had like two kind of silent searches in Miami and Florida State.
Yeah.
There's one big public search going on right now, and that's at Indiana. Everyone sort of kind of assumes that Chris Beard, the last of the Bob Knight disciples, will get that job.
And we'll just be here to talk about Indiana basketball.
And so if Chris Beard leaves, that leaves Ole Miss open. Now, if you're a Will Wade and you're Will Wade's agent, who's Evan Daniels, by the way, shouts Dave Telp, his former protege at scout.com. You're sitting. Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
That Evan Daniels?
Yes.
Oh, I had no idea it was that Evan Daniels.
You're sitting here and you're going, all right, now, NC State is a good job.
Yeah.
There's no Roy.
Yeah.
There's no K.
Right.
And hey, if Brian McMurray's over here writing checks and has some money for us to shake loose from the couch cushions, then we can make this work. But there ain't no guessing with Ole Miss. You already know what their budget is. You already know what the financial investment is. So the question becomes, I do think it's advantageous for NC State to be where they are right now, having the opening. But ultimately, whether it's Will Wade or Ryan Odom is another name that makes a lot of sense. Again, under the old old model, I think Ryan Odom is introduced, the day VCU loses in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Famous last words. Shaka Smart is going to be introduced the day VCU loses. Like, history just is a time is a flat circle, sir.
History does not repeat. It rhymes. It rhymes. It rhymes.
I mean, for those who don't know, Debbie really, 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 really wanted Shaka Smart. And when you people talk about NC State shit, let me tell you what NC State shit was. She wanted Shaka Smart. He was interested. The thing was, VCU was in the first four.
Yeah.
They just kept winning.
I remember.
Ultimately, they become the team that goes from the first four to the final four. And Shaka's like, I could probably do a little bit better than NC State. And meanwhile, Gary Williams is telling him, you really don't.
You don't want to be there.
Work for Debbie.
I remember doing Radio Row Final Four while all that was going on. That was one of the Final Fours I went to. And this could be a Mandela effect, but I'm pretty sure we saw Debbie at the Final Four. And we just kind of like, oh, funny seeing you here. And she's like, But yes, that's classic NC State shit.
The great protracted search of 12.
Yes. So, and I want to real quick on that. That's the two, and I think that's where the scars come in. That's why we started the conversation about how this coaching search is different than the previous coaching search.
They're not going to get tutted on this search.
No,
I don't think.
I think this is key, and I think NC State fans who have scars from the previous coaching searches, you need to understand this one's different. Say what you want about how we got here. I think everybody, right down to Boo Corrigan and the money people, understand that this search is different because of all the things that you just laid out in terms of where we are with college basketball, where we are with college sports, and things that would have kept you away from a coach in the past absolutely are an advantage now. I mean, I've seen this kicked around. I brought it up. It's almost like Mark Gottfried was a couple years too early.
It was.
I mean, all the other things aside, he was a little too early when it came to like because what happened with Gottfried would not be a problem today.
Right.
Period. Right. So
I think it being open is both an advantage, but you also have to understand that if Will Wade and Ryan Odom are on the top of your list, they're both going to, short of McNeese losing in their conference tournament, they're both going to be in the NCAA tournament. So at minimum, you're going to have to wait for them to be their seasons to be over.
You're going to have to wait a little bit. You're right. But I still think it's not going to be one of these weird protracted things that we saw in the past. And they're protracted for two different reasons. The Lee Fowler swung for the fences after Herb Sendek and kept missing multiple times missed. And we ended up on the seventh guy. Right. And then obviously we don't need to rehash the Shaka Smart thing with Debbie Yao. One thing you said, though, about the almost quiet searches for Miami and Florida State, I also think you're dealing with two different programs and what they want to be. Florida State and Miami are SEC light in a way. They don't have the money coming in like the SEC schools do. Like you mentioned, Ole Miss would be a competitor because they just have the money that the SEC has. Okay. That helps basketball in the grand scheme of things. But if your focus is on football at both those universities, your searches are going to reflect that.
Yes.
And I do think, because that was the other thing that I jotted down that was a surprise to me. It's the Dave Doran catch and strays portion of the program that I found interesting in the last 24 hours since Kevin Keatts got fired.
From fans?
Fans. Basically like, all right, so you fired Kevin. So explain to me why Dave still has a job. I don't want to get into the context as to why Dave still has a job, because that's a deeper conversation than we got all freaking week to talk about. I'm simply pointing out that I thought it was interesting that Dave has been catching strays with the Kevin Keatts dismissal. And the reason why I think it's interesting, strip Dave out of it, is I do think that the Final Four run recalibrated NC State people mindset. In that, if you know football is going to be tough sledding going forward,
and requires a whole lot more money.
What doesn't require as much money?
Basketball.
And
both men's and women's basketball.
And what has been the thing that has been closely tied to NC State's identity forever?
Well, look at Brian McMurray's money. Look when he graduated, 86.
Right.
Hello.
So if there's something that you can ultimately take away from Kevin Keatts' Final Four run in an ACC championship, it might have done the thing that recalibrated the money to say, hey guys,
who are we?
What are we?
Yeah.
And as somebody who for the better part of 20 years has argued, hey man, football was your in to carve out an identity in the triangle, what I didn't account for was two things. Eventually, Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski were going to retire, and both Duke and Carolina were going to have interesting paths to get to whatever was next. And I did not realize that football would end up where we are today, which is, it is stratified, the money.
NFL minor league. Yeah,
it really is. And NC State is just not going to be able to keep up with that, but you can in basketball. So that recalibration, I think, is interesting. And I think that's another reason why this coaching search is wildly different than the previous ones going forward. So it's all interesting. I think the one thing, if you take anything part of this conversation, is that while it should be a quicker coaching search, clearly the targets are going to be guys that are going to be, but as you just saw with Jay Lucas, I guess an assistant,
right?
But there could be some things that kind of come out, before we even see some basketball games. You see what I'm saying?
I'd also argue, like, this previous searches, the coach that was super important to the future of NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Recruit, develop, all of the old ideas that we had. I mean, I could argue that a replacement level coach can win with the right investment.
Yeah.
That's the key, is the right investment.
Yeah.
And we will see. Like we said yesterday, and I think it was dead spot on. This is Boo Corrigan's big moment. This is his chance to make his splash. And he had his list last year. He's got his list now. He got the buyout money secured that he needed. So he's put himself in a position to affect that identity going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a basketball school? At the risk of rankling Dave Doran.
No.
But when you go to the Final Four, both the men and the women in the same year, guess what?
Yeah. It's gonna have to, and you go to the Military Bowl and lose to ECU.
Guess what?
Yeah. People's opinions are going to change. Every time we talk about the ACC, it's brought to you by Keller Williams Commercial. Check them out. The Donnelly team, Brian Julie, are going to help you out with some commercial real estate space. You need warehouse space for storage. You have a retail option in mind. Whatever it is, they can help you out. So hit them up at trianglencommercial.com or call them directly at 919-616-8681. This is a very specific niche of real estate, but they nail it every single time. So they'll help you out. All you got to do is go to trianglencommercial.com. Oh, one last thing before we take some sports phone calls. Dan Hurley was on 60 Minutes, and it was a bit much. It's the old Family Guy. I watched it. It's the old Family Guy when Peter Griffin says, yeah, I don't like The Godfather because it just insists upon itself. It just insists upon itself. That's Dan Hurley in UConn basketball right now. Dan Hurley just insists upon himself. But that's not why I'm playing this clip. When I saw this, I thought, damn it, Joe is going to not let this go.
% of my roster or more.
50%
of my roster or more is at least, considering going in the portal. If not, already knows what school that they're going to.
Well, half your team is already thinking in terms of whether they want to transfer to another program or not.
Yeah, and in a couple of those cases, they've already talked to the coaching staff at future school and have an idea of what their NIL is going to be there.
The money.
Yeah.
What does it do to a culture of a college basketball team when half the guys are fielding offers for next season to go elsewhere?
Well, I mean, look at the volatility this year. The level of volatility in college sports, this has now become a year-to-year proposition.
No!
See, all I'm taking from that is Jersey recognizes Jersey, game recognizes game, and Jersey City is tuning in to the OG. That's all I took from this. You took something else?
When he said year-to-year proposition, I almost threw something at my television.
You took something else?
I almost threw my phone at my television.
You can't see this one.
I know you can't see the UConn.
You can't see this one because my wife's whole family went to UConn. But I see you, Danny. I see you.
But you know what? It's also a year-to-year proposition for you, the coach. You know, it's a year-to-year proposition for the players and the team and the records and everything else. But it's also for you, the coach, as well.
No, for sure. But I thought that's a fascinating clip. I think that's the old Sports Illustrated writer who did the interview.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the money.
Well, that's a classic.
Like,
honestly, that was dude. I have not watched 60 Minutes. I have not watched 60 Minutes in a hot minute.
Pearls and the money.
I have not watched 60 Minutes in a hot minute. But in watching that last night, they did the classic 60 Minutes. I'm going to guide you into what the money. Yes, the money. And this, like, they're not asking you questions. They're just like, and that's such 60 Minutes, man. Such 60 Minutes.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
So the real question is, do you want me to clip it and put it on the board, or are you going to?
You say it enough times.
I don't need to.
You say it.
We
enough
need to clip
times.
it. He said it better than I did.
All right, fine. OG Sports Phone brought to you by Nature's Relief. Check them out online, naturesreliefhempstore.com. I absolutely took that hybrid indica sativa on Sunday night after Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I needed to melt on the couch after the last 3 days.
And thanks to everyone who went out. Timber Drive,
Mhm.
Garner. What a great spot. Nature's Relief. They have so many stores, but I got to say I'm a little bit biased to the home base.
Of course
there. So go check them out and appreciate everyone who does go out and support and tell them, hey, we're here because of the OG.
All right, let's go to an 832. Okay. From a 932.
That firing of Kevin Keatts was rough as a cob. So without further ado, here is the rough as a cob march. Marching to Gentleman with the Eagle and Gold Sword. And don't forget to watch out for that flaming Ford. Good show, guys.
I've heard the term rough as a cob.
I can only imagine it involves something in the ear as well.
It might be a rough cob in the ear. I've not heard the rough as a cob march though.
Well,
getting a reference to Shibboleth though. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. What? That was a very musical first two calls. Let's go to a 336, shall we?
What's up, Joes? I think I just wanted to point out the hilarious irony of the advertisement that played at the beginning of the emergency podcast regarding Kevin Keatts being fired. I think it's hilarious that the advertisement was an Indeed.com advertisement saying you just realized you needed to hire someone yesterday. And it tells you how to go through all the candidates. I think that's hilarious, unintentional or not.
That
was a YouTube ad?
No, that was a Blue Wire ad.
Oh.
So we've recently done a switch over in the back end. So we have not had the pre-rolls running the last couple of shows. So clearly Blue Wire has caught things up. And Indeed has been a pre-roll in the past. So when I got in my car after we did the emergency podcast, I always make sure, all right, Did I screw up? Did I MF Dimitri this time? All that kind of stuff. So I always hit play, make sure it runs fine, little air check, if you will. And yes, when the Indeed commercial ran, I went, "Oh, come on.
The SEO, because it was in the headline, I guess.
Must
Maybe.
have been.
Yeah.
Must have been. All right, from a 919.
Hey, as a outside observer of the NC State situation, could this be a little bit similar to the Mike Elko leaving Duke, where that situation caused the Duke athletic department to really have the ammo to go to the administration and say, hey, to make this competitive, we need an investment to make it worth it. Lo and behold, Manny Diaz comes in, they get a larger NIL budget, a larger budget for college recruiting, and you can see the improvement in talent coming in for Manny Diaz for the past 2 years or so. Could this be the wake-up call NC State athletics needs to kind of get some stuff moving towards the basketball program to at least make them competitive? Yeah, that's just my thoughts here. Maybe a little bit too optimistic for state athletics knowing their history, but just trying to put a positive spin on it for my Wolfpack fellows. Have a good one.
Yeah, I think that kind of ties into what I was saying with the recalibration. And if there's a lasting legacy beyond having 2 banners to add at Lenovo Center for NC State basketball, it would be hey, maybe this is what it reminded us. This is what our identity should be. It reminded us, hey man, with the current state of college basketball or the current state of college athletics, maybe if we you make this very, very good point about the Big East, right? We're sitting here talking about Ole Miss. The real curiosity is how the Big East, with no football, really doubles down on basketball.
Even VCU has already come out and said what their budget will be next year,
right?
Which exceeds NC State.
So that's where things are going to get interesting going forward. And obviously the football people don't want to hear this, but maybe the people who, like you said, the guy from the textile, magnet, 80s,
86,
okay.
Class of 86.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So there is something to that, but obviously the proof will be in the pudding with Boo Corrigan, and something that I've said for the last few weeks. And this happens at Carolina as well, man. And we've seen this at Carolina. You got to be on the same page. It doesn't matter if you're Carolina. It doesn't matter if you're Carolina, Duke, or State. If you're not on the same page, the results are going to indicate that. And you're seeing Carolina finally the light bulb go on and going through some growing pains with this new era of college basketball. And State obviously is going to go through this. Meanwhile, Duke's just chugging along.
Housekeeping.
It's brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
It is officially pollen season, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be tracking all sorts of junk in, and you want to make sure you got a clean house. Our friends at Enovana can do that for you. So go check them out at enovana.com. The year of the hangover continues. The hangover really hit a low point on Sunday with the firing of Kevin Keatts. So what better way to celebrate than with a Drunk OG shirt? Available now through the rest of March. March 30th, we closed the shop. We've got the link in the podcast description and the YouTube description. Go click on it. We got 3 different kinds of shirts. We got 2 next level shirts in 2 different colors, a charcoal and a heather red, and then the comfort colors shirt with the OG flag on the pocket and the drunk wolf on the back. The next level t-shirts are $25 a piece. The comfort colors was originally priced at $83,
but now on sale.
But Crazy Eddie's T-shirt Emporium says, oh, no. We'll sell it to you for $35. Thanks to everybody who left comments, subscribed to the YouTube channel, rated us on their favorite podcast platforms after all the emergency podcasts this weekend. We thank you for that. Continue to do it. If you haven't left a review on your favorite podcast platform, do it. Helps with the algorithm. Same thing goes with YouTube as well. Like it, share it, leave a comment. All that stuff helps the podcast out. Speaking of the podcast, it is quick meeting time. ACC Tournament. We will not be headed to Charlotte until later tomorrow afternoon because we got nothing to do on Tuesday.
Okay.
So we'll do a normal show in the morning, and then we will wait for Carolina to wrap up on Wednesday
because they're the only ones playing.
They're the only ones playing.
Wake, but
so we'll drop a podcast after the 2:30 game.
Yes,
for the Tar Heels. That will be our show that day. And then on Thursday, depending on how Carolina plays, we will do one in the evening after Duke plays. So Carolina will play the late afternoon game, right?
Duke plays at noon, and then Carolina plays right after.
Is it noon? Why did I think they were playing 7 o'clock?
Because you don't pay attention to what I tell you.
I don't know. My brain's fried still, man. Okay, so even better. So we'll do another show in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We can get hammered on Thursday night?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
We've got Duke against Georgia Tech likely at noon.
Perfect.
Then we get Waking Carolina at 2:30.
I love it. I love it.
Focus.
Maybe I should look at a bracket. Anyway, so that's what's going on for the ACC tournament. And of course, we'll do an after dark on Friday night, depending. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get a Duke Carolina part 3. That's what I am assuming on Friday night.
I would think Heels probably get Pitt. That wouldn't hurt them to play
the rivalry.
Pitt. The real rivalry.
The real rivalry
Gets a true send off. You're telling me we're not going down for Notre Dame Pitt at 2, Virginia Tech Cal at 4:30, and Florida State and Syracuse at 7? We're not rocking the orange.
What's the crowd going to look like for those games? Even if State was playing on a Tuesday, it still wouldn't be a packed house. Brutal. Anyway, big thanks to Miller Lending. Check them out online, millerlending.com/the OG, or call them directly at 919-447-3377. With Miller Lending, you do not pay closing costs. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're going to get the rate that's out there right now, and you're not going to play any games. There's no gimmicks. There's no buying down of a rate to make you feel, I don't know, somewhat better, that you got a slightly lower rate than your friends. But here's the thing. What your friends might not be telling you is that they paid to get that rate down. When you pay to get a rate down, well, that's built into the cost of the loan, which usually takes about 8 years to break even on paying down a rate to actually get that money back. Typically, people will refinance about every 4 years. So you see where the math ain't mathing on that one?
Doesn't work.
This is where the math also doesn't math. Your credit card interest rates are higher than the current housing rates. So you can consolidate that. There's any number of reasons to refinance. It's not always just because you're getting a lower rate than the previous rate. Sometimes you just need to consolidate debt. And take a look around. A lot of news items about where we're at right now with the increase in debt for families. Use your house. That is your biggest asset, and you can lower your interest rate on your debt by refinancing with Miller Lending. So check them out online, millerlending.com/the OG. Tell them we sent you. Tell them we sent you, because there is a Raleigh Wine Shop gift basket in it for you.
It looks amazing.
It's really nice. Really nice. NMLS 250-2146. At some point, I will commit that to memory. I still have to go back. Big thanks to our friends at Roback. The fresh gear has dropped, Joe.
I'm excited.
We had to do a swap the other day, too.
I got a Roback a day for Charlotte.
So. Oh, do you? Nice. So go to roback.com, use the promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Roback.com, again, 20% off. They've got the new college collections, NC State polos, Carolina polos, hoodies, quarter zips, all great stuff. And it's that Roback quality you've come to learn, love, and respect. Big thanks to our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. And of course, 1-800-PLUMBER. The name is in the number. The number is the name. 1-800-PLUMBER and Air. They can take care of your plumbing needs, obviously your HVAC needs, 24/7 support, upfront pricing. All you got to do is go to 1-800-PLUMBER.com. I think our hot and our cold is going to come up here in a second. Hot, Carolina Hurricanes yesterday. Cold, Mikko freaking Rantanen. Yes.
But is he cold?
We'll talk about that. It's funny. You totally forgot we did a Mikko Rantanen traded to the Dallas Stars emergency podcast on Friday afternoon.
That was 3 extra podcasts ago.
I know. And what's wild to me is just how far we went in the course of 41 days and 13 games from, holy shit, we got Mikko Rantanen. Let's freaking go. And completely changing the idea of what this Cane season could be to, for lack of a better term, fuck that guy. That's how quickly it went, man. That's how quickly it went. You don't believe me?
You can't fire me. I quit.
You don't believe me? Former Governor Roy Cooper popped online. It was like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. All right, guys. Hey, it's Permar. we were at the Rialto on Saturday for the Duke Carolina game. Remember we did that too?
Mhm.
All that runs together. I saw this because it was on the board. It was on the marquee when I was walking up. It says, Mikko puts ketchup on his barbecue. Man, that's insulting. Straight up insulting.
No, the real insult.
And then, of course, we have our guy, Alex, one of our, an OG fan subscriber, went semi-viral on Kane's social media by giving the Giglio double birds to the Mikko Rantanen banner outside Lenovo. By the way, he wasn't alone in that. They had not taken the banners down by Sunday. And there were some people that were having a little fun at the expense of that trade.
Love it. No, the real insult is that guy gets to Dallas, scores a power play goal of all things in his first game.
Yeah.
And then scored again last night in their win over Vancouver. So now he has 2 goals in 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored 2 total goals in 13 games and had the one game, of course, against Boston where he was not interested in being there. But of course, last night we had the greatest Canes, the most Keynesiest, the Keynesiest Canes thing of all time.
Right.
They had 78 power plays in the first period. You're sitting here going, oh, Lord. And then they get an even strength goal and a nice little break. Scott Morrow, the next great hope, hits Mark Jankowski. And I'm sitting here going, did we even talk about Mark Jankowski?
We did not
because he got signed like it was like a 2-hour delay.
Right.
It was like a delayed opening. It was like an ice storm. Like the ice storm, Mark Jankowski.
And the Jankowski deal is a classic trade deadline deal where you find out after the fact.
Yeah.
We were so wrapped up in Mikko and everything else. Like, oh, that 4:30 Eric Tulsky talking to the media. Oh, yeah, here's the press release.
Oh, and by the way, he comes in, scores twice. And I'm going, that is the most Keynesiest Canes thing ever. Your 4th line bargain basement guy that you threw a 5th round pick to Nashville for.
Yeah.
Scores 2 goals. He had 4 in 41 games with Nashville.
And I had put this out on social media. This was the response that was so predictable by the Rod Brind'Amour era Carolina Hurricanes. And something we talked about on Friday with Luke DeCock, where it was a classic, fine, Mikko, you don't want to be here? We got the guys in the room who want to be here. And I have to tip the cap to the Carolina Hurricanes, specifically Seth Jarvis and Jordan Martinook in particular, who, without saying it, let me rephrase. They had the most professional fuck that guy responses to what had happened in the week before. And ultimately it was hurting the room. And you're going to take chemistry and the room over talent every freaking day. If you don't want to acquiesce, if you don't want to buy in. And what do we know about hockey, man? If you're not the type of guy who's going to lay it on the line, that is going to hurt you in that room, specifically for Rod Brind'Amour. And if that's how they were going about it, man, so be it. And it's like, the guy just kind of exposed himself in the aftermath of the trade, too, by the way. This is him on Sportsnet Friday.
You were the prize deadline catch, and you had options. Why Dallas?
Well, I just know how good the team is. Obviously, I like the whole setup, they have, and I played against them a lot. I obviously knew some guys from before, and just a really good team overall.
When Colorado traded you to Carolina in January, it was a blockbuster deal, and the Hurricanes obviously thought they could re-sign you. When did you decide you were moving on from Carolina?
I think it was last week. I just
whoa, Mikko, Bubby, last week. Interesting. And then, of course, this leads to Thursday, and as I predicted, more was going to come out in the aftermath of this, of just what the dynamic is. And going back to our conversation with Luke DeCock, it was fairly obvious that all this was weighing on them in the room. And Rod Brind'Amour on Saturday had media availability ahead of Sunday's game. And I think it was Corey Lavalette that got the questions going in regards to the room, trying to get that guy to fit in, didn't necessarily work, and then Chip follows up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we were kind of missing the boat on the whole thing. I think that's, the player came and had it in his head where he needed to be. I think he only had a couple cities, and, that's what happened. Focusing on all that other stuff, to me, I know it's you guys got to talk about it, but wasn't a fit for him. We got guys that fit, and now we got to go out there and get the job done.
Sebastian said today that now that it's over and the day's gone past, that it was a distraction the last few weeks as far as he was. Can you sense that as a coach?
Well, I sensed it in the way we were playing, and the apprehensive. Like it was just, like it didn't feel right, which is natural anyway when you bring in a guy like that. But I think now we can we know what the team is. Now it's get the pieces that we have here working together at their optimal, way, and get like I say, get it done.
That's Rod back in the mode. We talked to him 2 weeks ago. All right, not happy with how things played out with the roster, but this is what we have. We'll make it fit. He made it fit, right? It gets disrupted by Mikko Rantanen, but now, key phrase there, we know who we have. We know the guys who want to be in the room. We're going to make it work going forward.
Yeah, I think Eric Tulsky said it best Friday when he said they don't regret being aggressive. That's that's their mindset. That's the way that they're going to approach this.
I think that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, this didn't work out for the Carolina Hurricanes. Mikko Rantanen, his girlfriend or whatever, this or that. You can't make somebody love you, man.
No.
I told you it was a Bonnie Raitt situation. And, good for him. He's in Dallas now, and he's got more fins apparently because there weren't enough fins here. Am I understanding this correctly?
Hold on.
Like what?
Yeah, right.
Like
Exactly.
I'm not trying to be like, oh man, the Canes are better off. Addition by subtraction. I'm not being that guy.
I'll be that guy.
I'm not going to be that
I'll
guy.
Be that
but
guy.
it's just kind of like, wait,
I would meeting the guys and getting ready for a game.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, very very good team and a lot of Finns in the team. So
What?
I mean,
Your boy was on the last team.
I feel bad for Sebastian Aho. Oh, we got a lot of Finns here.
Rupe fiasco. Yeah.
All right. Got it. He continues.
a lot of friends from before already.
What?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Poor Sebastian.
Threw me off.
Damn, man.
Which makes the transition always a little bit easier when you know some guys. But
Like my best friend. So here's
clearly not. I mean,
oh, clearly not. I know. You know what I mean. But it is. I will say that since you bring that up, it does once again highlight. Be wary of only consuming team-fed media.
Sure.
Be wary. Be wary of it.
I'll be honest too. Like I kind of forgot the goalie's not around and that Tavo's not around either. So really, we're down to KK and Sebastian.
Still, though, you have a relationship with Sebastian.
You'd think that would be enough.
On, we'll get back to the Mikko stuff here in a second because he said something else that I was kind of funny that ties into Roslovich because we got an answer on that.
We did.
But no,
I had a busy reporting weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. Actually, it was Sunday.
You feel it in
all
your
my
plums?
reporting on Sunday.
Is there any other news that you broke I should be aware of?
No.
Okay.
No, just those two things. More of a confirmation. I actually broke the watch story originally too, so yeah, it's been a good run for me.
All mixed up, you don't know what to do. I guess we'll clarify and correct something or two. Cause you know what Joe is not the first or the last. Think they've gone wrong in the past.
Yeah, you got mad at me yesterday.
I did.
It's okay.
You were in radio mode.
I was.
And I was kind of like thinking, oh, we're going to promote what just happened. But then I was mad at myself this morning. I was like, I should have thrown like an ad in there. I should have like put something in the background. Should have done that from the Everett Studios or Butcher's Market.
You're right.
Like my original tweet should have had something tied into our program.
You should have done it.
And I was like in newspaper mode.
See, that's the thing. You and I, we reverted back to our corners.
So I can't be mad at you for being in radio mode when I was in newspaper mode.
It's okay. I was like half awake anyway.
Should have capitalized.
What you should have done is a Kevin Weeks-esque, just your hair. Like I'm in the garage in Garner. I'm hearing, or I've been told,
right,
like Kevin Weeks does, where he does just like the top of his head, like wherever he is.
Yeah.
That's what you should have done, man.
Because I still have from the golf tournament, like the Butcher's Market.
Yeah.
I still have, some of our other sponsors, Breeze Through or any of our others, Heaster Automotive Group.
Well, no, what you should have done, you should have taken a hockey break to break the other reporting news that you have.
Let's take a hockey break.
Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
Since you were in news mode all the time.
But speaking of which, ready for this? First time ever, I think.
What are you doing? Okay, Joe's walking out of the studio. If you're watching here, this is a surprise. Go over with Joe as we're recording. How's it going?
All right.
You are
Bill.
Oh, hey, Bill. Yes, I was going to say these are funny things that happen where I only see names and avatars and whatnot. Grab that chair. We're gonna have to sit you down here since we're doing like a Happy and Hail thing here. Because I don't have the other camera set up for now since you're surprising me here. Hi, Bill.
Hello. So you can win on the OG. Bill is our first winner of the executive black card. Sir, congratulations to you. All you had to do was
thank you. I appreciate it.
Promo code OG25.
Yeah.
Take a screen grab, send it to me, giglio.joe@gmail.com. That card now in person for your life. Caleb Love style. 20% off all of your in-store purchases.
I'm excited.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Sorry to surprise you here.
Oh, no, I didn't know it was gonna be live today.
Hey.
Live to tape podcast.
Now we know. Big winners. Dreams do come true.
No,
I feel like Ed McMahon right now, quite frankly. I feel
take the 20%.
I would date myself.
What's your favorite bowl?
Bueno Bowl.
The Bueno Bowl is always money. Always a big
there.
Yeah, that's usually what I go with. I'm gonna have to pick some up on my way home. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because it's getting close to lunchtime and I want to eat. I might get the Bueno Bowl.
But sometimes we need people like Bill who support our sponsors.
No, I just wish I would have known ahead of time so I could have set up the other camera and it wouldn't be so janky. That's all.
That's part of our charm.
You once told me polish, Joe. You once told me polish, but here it is. But yeah, go to Happy and Hail, download the app, use that promo code, and who knows, you might be the next Bill to get the executive card. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Even when we're live to tape, filled with surprises with that.
Yeah.
Kind of funny how that works out. Much like we were, all surprised with the Mikko thing. Getting back to that. You kind of dismissed the addition by subtraction thing, and I don't think that's something to dismiss with the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not saying that they're Stanley Cup contenders because the vibes are good, but vibes do matter. And you were looking at the potential of, let's say they weren't able to make a deal happen. I mean, clearly they didn't think they were going to have a deal done because you go back to them playing Mikko Rantanen on Thursday night. Yeah, speaking of things that are dismissed, and that's on me. That's my fault. I wasn't exactly locked in with some stuff on Thursday. And when I saw all this, Mikko skating, I thought, well, why wouldn't he? You know what I mean? But what I did not realize was just how bad it got with the Carolina Hurricanes and Mikko Rantanen and them trying to make a move. And the only reason why they ended up playing him is because it didn't look like there was going to be some sort of deal in terms of the contract. So like, all right, fine, we're going to play him. And somebody had expressed to me that you were looking at the possibility of Mikko Rantanen being a healthy scratch for the next game, that he would be a healthy scratch for Sunday because of how it gotten. And like, fine, if we're going to roll with this and you're going to be with this team the rest of the year, we're going to be sending a message to you that all this stuff that had been going on is not acceptable. So you're either in or you're not. So that's where we got with the Carolina Hurricanes and Mikko Rantanen. You remove that from the room and you're not having the questions linger around, and poor Sebastian Aho is not getting asked questions by Luke DeCock about this whole process and him having to be very careful with his words. It's out the window. And I mentioned it at the jump of this at the start of this segment related to Seth Jarvis and Jordan Martinook. They did in the most professional, polite way. Man, screw that guy. Screw him. You want to go to war with these guys. That's the point. So if the room is like that now, again, I'm not saying Stanley Cup, but what I am saying, it does change the demeanor of what we expect out of the Carolina Hurricanes. Do they still have deficiencies? Of course they do. Goaltending is a question. Defense is a question, especially with Orlov and the injury, right? And the power play continues to be a problem, as you mentioned, like a very Keynesy experience on a Sunday.
I'm not sure about the legitimacy of that Orlov injury, by the way.
Well, that's another story altogether, too.
I'm just...
Hey,
we're going to throw some conspiracies out there.
Just saying. But all things considered, I feel more confident about the Carolina Hurricanes now than I was last week as we come to find out everything that happened with Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, you might be being a little bit homerish, but
perhaps
it's.
I'll own that.
The results themselves the first game.
Mhm.
To your point, the Canes want to play a certain way. They did. By the way, the team that they played is the best team in the NHL.
Right.
And they dominated them for all but, you know what? How many games? 60 minutes, 57 minutes, and then Freddie got a little bit loopy in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, a little loopy at the end.
But other than that, like even despite their problems on the power play, those Stankonia finally got a power play goal of all things.
Of all things.
Like the thing that Mikko Rantanen was bought in to fix. Like
didn't do.
irony alert, you know, this Munchkin stank oven comes in. Stank oven?
It's Stankoven.
Stankoven comes in and stanky.
They played the stanky leg last night.
They listed him at 5'8". I'm not sure why Rod has him on a line with Aho and Jarvis just to tease me, apparently, because they're not going to play together in the playoffs.
Of course not.
So,
of course not.
Yeah. No, I thought they were great last night. I thought the response was perfect, as we kind of sort of predicted. You can't predict that the newcomers are going to score 3 of the actual goals, and Jarvis would have the empty net specialist there. But ultimately, the team that they were with Natchez and Drury had a better chance of going further in the playoffs than what they are today.
I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah,
but so you and I both agree.
But it's not necessarily about this year.
It's not, and it's not. And if you take the big swing, I'm not going to fault the Canes for trying to get Mikko Rantanen. I'm not going to fault them. But I'm also going to give them credit too of understanding once things got to a head, they made the right decision of like, all right, fine, let's just go forward. Are they better today than they were before the trade? Like to your point about having Natchez and Drury. No, but we know that that's not always what it's about. It's not always what it's about. And sometimes, as much as people want to get all like in the weeds hockey, to me, there's no sport that's more vibey than hockey. It's a very interesting balance when it comes to that.
Yeah, hockey has changed a lot since 2002 when the Red Wings were out there with 5 Hall of Famers, just jamming it in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Different, totally different. The competitive balance of the league,
a rough cob in the ear,
is different than than Blackhawks and San Jose aside. But you look at it and you go, anything can happen in the playoffs. That's the beauty of hockey, though.
Right?
But I do think you would probably regret. There's the potential to regret wow, they're better off without Mikko ... when he gets to the playoffs and has like 12 goals, and then you're like, well, what the hell just happened?
Well, let me be clear. They're better off with Mikko Rantanen when he's not in his feelings. And he wasn't going to come out of his feelings. You were never going to get this. You were never going to get the Dallas Mikko with the Canes.
Correct.
If you're never going to get the Dallas Mikko, because again, if I'm Tulsky, if I'm Rod Brind'Amour, and I see that guy have a power play goal on night 1, you're going, dude,
really?
And then, like I said, the clip. Oh, a lot of Finns here really like, well, man, what the hell? Like, I'm just really like, what the hell?
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
As someone who's very, very familiar with this concept, the Canes got from Mikko Rantanen, it's not you. It's me.
Right.
It's me.
Right.
Hey guys, Mikey and DFW here. Question. Can Whitaker and Hamer help Tom Dundon recover the full amount plus damages of the 13 game checks that Mikko Rantanen straight up stole from the Carolina Hurricanes? I'll hang up and listen.
Well,
they would definitely have a case for that Thursday game against Boston. I'm not sure about the other 12.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But Roslovich ends up being the big winner, though.
Yeah, I noticed on the handy dandy score sheet. I got there last night, and I'm like, oh, look at that, 96. So he got his number back.
And
then I was kind of like, well, maybe he didn't get the payoff. Maybe he didn't get that watch.
He got the watch.
You don't have to give up a Rolex watch or anything.
Yeah, that's good save. yeah.
That's it. Get the Rolex watch?
Yeah, I did. I promised to him, so I had to keep my promise. Yeah. Well, hopefully he's gonna enjoy it.
There you go, Mikko Rantanen.
Last night when I was in the Canes room, I asked one of our guys. I said, "So, I see Roslovich in 96." I said, "Well, did he get the watch?" And I was told, "Yep, he did." So, again, hey man, I can't make you love me. I can't. It's not you. It's me. Mikko didn't want to be here. He's gone. You move it along. the cap space becomes your value. You make a better move this offseason. And you want to ride this thing? Jankowski has a history of scoring goals back with Nashville. You know, he's kind of lost it a little bit, but maybe he's rejuvenated.
Perhaps.
That's a nice little fourth line, by the way, with Roslovich and Robinson. That's where
that matters.
But that's where I kind of push back on people like the Canes, the system. Well, yeah, part of that system is you play a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is you play as hard as you possibly can while you're on the ice because you know it's not a true fourth line situation. By the way, Detroit, with all those Hall of Famers, back in the day, one of their true gifts was the grit line, was their ability to have that fourth line.
You're probably wondering, how have we gone this far in the podcast already talking about the Canes and not tied it to NC State? Well, we didn't have to because we had somebody in the sports phone do it for us.
Hey guys, finally catching up with the after brunch on Kevin Keatts and Giglio. I think your comp is all wrong. What State fans want State to be is the Hurricanes. They have not won anything apart from, I mean, they've won a division title, but they've not won, they haven't won a Stanley Cup, so they haven't won a championship or anything like that, but they're always competitive. They're always in games. They're exciting to watch. They're always, whatever team they have, they're always going to have a chance. That's what State fans want. They always want to be there and to have a chance. Now, whether that's possible, given the financial realities of where we are and what State wants to pay and everything like that, the fact that State doesn't have a Tom Dundon, that's another topic. But that's really what State fans want. They want a team that's exciting to watch and has a chance. State has not had a chance or looked like they'd had a chance for a long time. Thanks so much for the podcast, guys. Enjoy it as always. Bye.
So much synergy between the Canes fans and State fans.
Yeah, I can't expend the energy in arguing this with you again. But basically what you're saying is no, I won't even do it.
We'll save that for tomorrow because there were a lot of people in the YouTube comments that were just like, Joe's off his rocker with some of these comps, but that's another story for another day. That concludes our hockey coverage in this segment, which means it's time to play the jingle. Wonder if we can get Home Field to do a 2 Joes 1 Cup hoodie for us. Think that would sell? Probably not. You know what will sell though? Their Legends of March. We're talking the Home Field Hoops Society. What are you shaking your head at?
No, sir. No.
What?
No. Don't do that to Home Field.
It is the trauma dump segment.
I know.
No, but we got the Hoop Society, and they've got an incredible box that you can order right now. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24. I see you people. Some of you have been sitting on that OG24 promo code. You finally used it, and I don't blame you. The Duke and Carolina boxes are fantastic. The hoodie looks really slick. The heavyweight t-shirts with the throwback designs are fantastic, and you get a mini basketball out of it. So go to homefieldapparel.com. Check out that Hoops Society box for Duke and Carolina now that we are in the 3rd month of the year. Big thanks to our guy, Matt Davis at State Farm. He has real throwbacks all over the place. He brought us a 1997 media pass the other day while we were at Nature's Relief, and he can help you out saving on home and auto. All you need to do is give him a call right now at 919-779-8277 or visit insuregarner.com. He also hooks you up with hockey tickets.
Yes, we still have 2 tickets available for March 25th and April 13th. All you have to do is show me that you've gotten a quote from Matt. Take a screenshot of that quote or an email. Zap it to me, giglio.joe@gmail.com, and you will be entered to win those tickets on those 2 games. As I scroll.
Yeah.
First of all, the one on the 25th is Nashville It's a 7 o'clock game. And then the 13th is Toronto. Another one of those Sunday 5 games, which I enjoy. And obviously Toronto could very well be one of those playoff previews, if you will.
I know Maniscalco doesn't listen to the podcast, but I caught Maniscalco the other day talking about a playoff-like atmosphere.
There we go.
Love it. Shout out to Alec Campbell. It is a playoff-like game. So go to insuregarner.com and do all those steps to get your tickets. Speaking of a home, might be time for you to sell your house, or it might be time for you to buy a house. You're looking at new construction. Use our friends, Hometown Realty. Check them out, myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. And I keep telling you this, the way the housing market's going, the last thing you want to do is take a guaranteed cash offer because you are leaving money on the table. So check them out, myhtr.com. Also, big thanks to our friends at O2 Fitness. You can check them out online at o2fitnessclubs.com.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
The gyms speak for themselves. Great locations. You ain't going to a gym if it ain't nearby, so go check that out. They got a great staff, great equipment, but it goes beyond that. When we say more than a gym, we're talking about Renew Physiotherapy that can help you with, like Giglio has been dealing with, his neck and his back. You also have Loop Nutrition, which can help you on the path to better eating and a better lifestyle. And of course, as you get older, things don't work like they used to. That's where they've partnered with Thrive. LiveThrive.co. You can just go online, talk to somebody online, like any other telehealth, but it's local. And you can discuss things like oral testosterone treatments and weight loss, all at LiveThrive.co. Again, that's LiveThrive.co. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from our YouTube channel here on Ovies and Giglio, the women's basketball podcast, WUNC-FM here in the Triangle. He is Mitch Northam on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Mitch, what up?
Not much. SEC tournament, ACC tournament in the books. I've logged the miles and back in the Triangle for just a little bit before heading down to Charlotte.
Yeah, so let's talk about the women's ACC tournament, which ended up, giving us what we want: Triangle schools playing at a high level. So let's start with the championship game and the implications from that championship game. I think for most people, it's mostly focused on NC State. Wes Moore and his program, that's the 5th ACC championship game in the last 6 years? Do I have that right?
Yeah,
okay, so
fifth title game in 6 years.
So in and of itself, that is an incredible run for Wes Moore and that program. And it's something that Carol Lawson said after Duke won, that, to go through Wes kind of gave it a little bit more because, as she said, nothing but respect for the program that they've built and that they're kind of the standard. So that's kind of where we're at with NC State and Wes Moore. And I think that might be the surprise that most people had of what happened in the third quarter. So what exactly happened in the third quarter where this game got away from the Wolfpack?
Yeah, Duke just came out at halftime and really, really put the clamps on Duke defensively, really put the hurting on them on the boards. It was really lopsided rebounding in the second half. I think the final on the boards ended up being 44-28. But at halftime, they were dead even 18-18. So, you can do the math on that. So I think that's 10 rebounds total for State in the second half, while 26 for Duke in the second half. And Duke's got a deep bench. Carroll really likes to play like a deep rotation and get a lot of players in. Aluchi Okinawa, she had 22 points and 10 rebounds, ended up taking home ACC tournament MVP. She did that off the bench, and she was just awesome. And State didn't really have an answer for her. I thought that in the second half in particular, Tilda Trigger, who I've given a lot of compliments to this year, and I think is the answer for State inside in the post. As a freshman, I think kind of playing this many games in this many consecutive days got to her a little bit. She looked a little, out of sorts in the second half, a little winded. Isaiah James goes down at the end of the second half, with a knock. She gets back in, but I think that shook State up a little bit, and they just weren't able to kind of regain their composure.
All right, so about Duke specifically, let's talk about the champs. This is Carol Lawson's 5th season at Duke. It kind of got off to a little bit of a rocky start with transfers. I mean, this is what happens when you're going into a new direction, a new program. The pandemic was weird for everybody. And I feel like lost in how we talk about Westmore at NC State, lost in what we have in North Carolina. Kara's been slowly piecing this thing together, and this is the validation, the breakthrough that, I mean, Duke's athletic department's been running hot as of late, right? You got John Shire doing the thing. You've got the Mike Elko into the Manny Diaz, and now the Carol Lawson hire pays off with an ACC title.
Yeah, and I mean, Nina King wasn't officially athletic director at the point that Carol Lawson was hired, but it's my understanding that this was basically her hire. And so it's another, good mark for Nina King in terms of making hires and stuff during her time as AD there. She was on the floor last night near the podium and stuff, and I think told our friend Aaron Beard, this is what we envisioned, right? But yeah, you mentioned, Kara came in at a weird time. Joanne P. McCauley resigned in the middle of the summer in July of 2020. So we're in the throes of COVID and just a weird time in general for like a coaching search, right, for basketball,
right,
in the middle of the summer. She comes in and they only play a couple games her first season, and then they cancel the season because of COVID. And then, second year they missed the tournament, but now every year since, they've made the tournament. Hosted that first year, gonna host again this year, made the Sweet 16 last year. And the other notable thing about Duke is they're one of only 3 teams in the Power 4 women's college basketball that had no transfers leave the program this season. So I think that speaks to something about the, and we don't really get a whole lot of inside looks into that program, but it speaks a lot about, I think, the continuity and culture that Kara has built there.
It is interesting you mentioned that. Kara has a professional aspect to this,
for sure,
including a stint with the Boston Celtics, right? And I've always kind of gotten the sense where Westmore at NC State, a little bit of a throwback. Same with Courtney over at UNC. It's what you typically see, but things seem to be a little bit different at Duke with Kara, which maybe that speaks to the coverage, maybe it speaks to how they want to run things, but it has always been a little bit of a different vibe coming out of Durham. But that doesn't take away from the success that we saw this weekend.
Yeah, it was interesting. We noticed something yesterday that I've never really seen a head coach do before, where as Duke was cutting down the nets, Kara was standing under the ladder and like directing players and telling them how to cut specific pieces of the net off and stuff like that. And it was just a kind of thing of like, Kara's done this before at Tennessee a whole lot. And, people at Duke haven't. So, yeah, I think the way she runs her program is a mix of what she learned from Pat Summitt at Tennessee and then all of her times in the pros, whether that was on WNBA teams playing or her time with Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics. But, I think it's interesting that, there's a little bit of this, back and forth and animosity and fun stuff between Courtney Bankhart and Wes Moore. With Kara and Wes, there is really like a lot of respect. Wes had a lot of nice things to say about her in the regular season. Basically, he said something about to the effect of, she runs her program the way Pat did. Wes coached in the state of Tennessee for a long time before he got to NC State. And Kara said a lot of nice things about Wes yesterday. So there is clearly some mutual admiration there.
No small gym blast. They get the people going. So
none of that yesterday. Yeah.
You know what though? Hey, time and place. Not
you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah.
Not every rivalry has to act the same. It's not the way it works. All right. So big picture. We'll start with any sort of surprises that came out of the ACC tournament for you.
I don't think there were a lot of surprises. Just that Notre Dame lost the way they did to Duke. I was something's wrong with Notre Dame. I think NC State might have. They might have broken them. I think Notre Dame needs to take the cartridge out, blow on it, stick it back in. Their post-game press conference after the loss to Duke, it was the second time in 4 games that it's taken Neil Ivey an hour to show up to the post-game press conference.
Yeah. So I saw that on social media, and I was kind of confused because at least, like, it's one thing to do it in the regular season. You're going to run it like how you want to run it. But the tournament's different. It is a machine. These things are on time. They have moderators. They're making it move. So I'm surprised that happened at the tournament.
Yeah, so the arena staff in Greensboro got paid an extra hour of work, I guess, on Saturday. But yeah, it just struck me as like, if you need to do this, have these like immediate long post game meetings with your team twice in the span of 4 games in March, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I think Notre Dame has all the talent in the world, and when they're playing in the right way, they can win the national championship. But now we've seen a couple times in the past couple weeks that like something's not clicking there, and I'm not sure what it is. North Carolina they flirted with disaster and almost getting upset by Boston College in the second round of the tournament, but they bounced back, got that win, and then they beat Florida State in the quarterfinals. I think that wraps up hosting rights for them. So we are going to see all 3 Triangle schools host here in the first weekend of the tournament, first time since 1998. That'll be a lot of fun. And North Carolina gets Alyssa Utsby and Renai Kelly back in those 2 games as well. So that's a good sign for them heading into March.
Yeah, so we'll close on this. The selection show isn't until Sunday. I know we still have we got the Big East championship game tonight. So what is the bracketology looking like for the ACC? How many teams were we talking about? NC State, even though they lose in the championship game, or where are they on the line?
I think we're going to get 8 ACC teams in. There's a potential for 9. I think Virginia Tech could sneak in. It just depends on, believe it or not, how the Ivy League tournament goes. The Ivy League is one of the best mid-major conferences in women's college basketball this season. If there's a bid stealer there, or if the favorite wins, we could see that impact Virginia Tech seeding. So 8 to 9 teams, I think, for the ACC. You could have as many as 3 teams on the 2 line. I think Notre Dame, State, and Duke could all be on the 2 line. It's more likely, I think, that Duke ends up on the 3 line with just kind of how their conference shaked out. North Carolina is going to be a 4, I think, for sure. So yeah, you'll probably have 4 ACC teams hosting. I think the 1 lines are basically all set with the other conference finals that we saw yesterday. I think you're going to see South Carolina, UCLA, USC, and Texas in some order on the 1 line. I don't think the committee is going to move UConn up to a 1, although they could. We'll see what happens. But I think those 4 teams have more impressive resumes than UConn does. The Big East is just not that strong this year in women's basketball.
Mitch Northam, WUNC. Check him out on the Women's Basketball Podcast on our YouTube channel and OG Media podcast platforms. Mitch, we'll appreciate it, man. I'll see you in Charlotte.
Yep.
Thanks to our friends at Sam Jones. I got so many lunch options to choose from. Heck, who knows? Maybe I'll go to Sam Jones for lunch today. So again, check them out. Sam Jones in downtown Raleigh, in Greenville as well. The home of the butt selfie, Greenville.
Coastal Carolina fans. That was my only disappointment.
Oh,
that
it
it wasn't.
fan?
They weren't pirate co-eds. It was the Coastal Chanticleer.
So our guy Patrick Johnson, he was he went a little viral this weekend thanks to that baseball game in the crowd.
He did. A true pro. Handled it like a true pro.
He really is. Now we got time for a true mini lightning round because it's all NFL related right now. The Carolina Panthers are finally on the free agent board. Mike Kay over at the Charlotte Observer. Panthers signing cornerback J.C. Horn to a record-setting contract. Horn, who is 25, he's going to play out the 5th-year option of his expiring rookie deal, is worth which is worth $12.47 million. Agreed to a new deal, according to Ian Rappaport at the NFL Network. He first reported the contract. The deal will make Horn the highest paid corner in NFL history. The contract extension is worth a total of $100 million with $70 million in guaranteed money. The league source confirmed to the Observer. That is all part of the building blocks and what they're trying to build on the defensive side, which has a lot of needs for the Carolina Panthers, something that will clearly be addressed in the draft. Elsewhere, are you ready for the potential of Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin together in Pittsburgh? Can our friend Brooke Pryor handle this? Is she ready?
No.
For more shenanigans? So the reason why this is a thing is because the Steelers just had a deal with the Seahawks where they traded wide receiver DK Metcalf for a second round pick. This is after they moved on from Geno Smith going into the weekend. Okay. So with an actual like wide receiver talent, you got to get the quarterback right. Is Russell the answer? Is Justin Fields comfortable with his role? Where do you go? Are the Steelers in the Sam Darnold sweepstakes, right? So Seattle, again, the Geno Smith trade to Las Vegas. It could be a situation where Seattle tries to sign Sam Darnold, or Pittsburgh could be the one that tries to sign Sam Darnold as they're moving on. They're not going to tag him because, J.J. McCarthy's not quite there yet, but they might try to find somebody else that can kind of bridge you to J.J. McCarthy while Darnold goes and signs a reclamation deal somewhere else.
Sure.
Since he actually was pretty good with the Vikings this year.
But 1 week.
Kind of a crucial week. So all that is kind of intriguing there. The Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh thing would set the NFL ablaze. It would truly test the whole Mike Tomlin culture, by the way. So be interesting to see that happens. Elsewhere, I guess money talks, and Myles Garrett, who didn't want to be in Cleveland, now is cool being in Cleveland with, what do I see here? A 4-year, $160 million contract extension.
Makes a lot of sense. I can be talked into that.
Oh, you hate it here? You don't feel like you can contend? How does 160 million sound? And finally, Josh Allen, Bills, 6 years, $330 million, $250 million guaranteed. That is the most in NFL history. We always get these when it comes to quarterbacks. The most. This is not a surprise. Should not shock anybody, but I'm only bringing this up for one reason and one reason only. I'm looking at you, Dallas Cowboys. I'm looking at you, Washington football team from years ago. When you have an opportunity to sign the quarterback, sign him, because it's only going to get more expensive. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you're still saving money in the long run because you end up getting deals like this. The quarterback market's always going up. There's a conversation for another day about if we'll ever reach a quarterback bubble, but we're not there yet. So just sign your quarterback when you have the chance to sign the quarterback if you feel like he's the guy. It's not complicated. Just not complicated. That also means, Joe, next time you go to Wegmans, we will be seeing more Josh Allen gear for the next 6 years. It's never going away. Never going away. So we've been talking about winners and losers. Dak Roslovich, he's a winner because he gets to watch and his number back. But the biggest winner might be Two Roosters. Our friends at Two Roosters is absolutely crushing it.
Or Jared.
I know. He feels bad. But I also said to him, look, man, this is a weird, funny way to get people to understand what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And,
it's
maybe
good awareness.
It's amazing
brand awareness.
Amazing brand awareness. Okay. So big thanks to Two Roosters. Big thanks to Jared. Big thanks to everything they do. They make fantastic ice cream. And sometimes if you got to eat your feelings, like some State fans had to eat their feelings yesterday between firing a coach and then Westmore and the Wolfpack women losing to Duke in the ACC championship game, like we talked about with Mitch. Hey, man, Two Roosters is the way to go. So check them out, tworoosters.com. Speaking of eating feelings, all sorts of options at the butcher's market. Shout out to some of our listeners who posted on social media that they had hit the butcher's markets while in town, including one listener. They're not around here. They're not local, but they happen to be in town. So they hit the butcher's market on the way. Smart stuff. They even got the Ovies family recipe of the jalapeno garlic chicken breast to make fajitas with. So check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com. And of course, our friends at Breeze Through. Check out breezethrough.com. Check out the March specials that include Zins and Celsius. If that's not a millennial buy one, get one, I don't know what is, man. Fantastic stuff. So they got deals on Zyn. They got deals on Celsius. They got cheap Aquafina. They got Pepsi products. They got all sorts of stuff. But I'm going to read directly from our guy, Adam.
Okay.
And when we talk about Breeze Through, he wants us, because they're right there by Lenovo Center. They got a location right by Lenovo Center. He wants us to point out that It isn't stank. You know what isn't stanky or janky? The bathrooms it breached through. So there you go.
Perfect.
Just tying it into the Canes, man. Tying it into the Canes.
And no need for me to pour any of this for you. You didn't do the super. Hello, fellow youths.
I'd try.
Get yourself a zinny.
You did it this time. Go to Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, bugsbite.com. It is, we're getting out of the false spring, the spring of deceptions, the second winters, the third winter, the third winters, all that stuff. We're there.
We're here.
So that means the pollen's going to be coming out. It also means the mosquitoes will be out soon. So get a handle on that. Go to bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save with our friends at bugsbite.com. Joe is on the struggle bus. Hopefully, is it the allergies or what? You going to be fine in Charlotte?
I hope so, but
okay. All right, we'll see what's up. All right, let's get away.
Started taking my Claritin 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, I took my Claritin yesterday. All right, let's go to a 704.
So the Hurricanes trades can actually produce something. It's Paul, by the way. Look at that. Look at that. Stankoven comes in, Jankowski comes in, they immediately impact the game. Doesn't sound like another trade product we had for about 13 games. Congrats to Mikko Rantanen for truly being super unprofessional and just not even trying to produce for the Hurricanes. Congrats, bud. You are in the Eric Hall of Fame, or I guess the Hall of Hatred for the Hurricanes. Yeesh. But hey, I like that Stankoven kid, man. I did not realize how young he is. I think he's got potential.
Yes, he does go on the House of Horrors, or however you want to call it. This is from a 919.
Hey, Ovies and Giglio. How about my High Point Panthers heading to the dance for the first time? You going to talk about them now? That's all I got to say.
There it is. I was waiting for the High Point shout out from Davis. Yeah, man, they punched their ticket. First time in High Point basketball history, man. Congrats to them.
Beat Winthrop yesterday, 81-69. Alan Huss on his way with the Panthers. Nice.
Did I read where Campbell fired their basketball coach? Too?
For real?
I think so. Hold on a second. Let me double check on that, because that's something that NC State's going to have to contend with.
Yeah, they did.
They fired their coach.
Leadership.
Oh man,
wow!
It's such a newsy weekend. Speaking of State, let's get back to some State calls, shall we?
Hey boys, it's Jay Kumar. Just a couple things on the Keatts situation. Ovies, I appreciate kind of your take on this Sunday. Giglio, I could not disagree with you more. Winning is great. Postseason is great. But if you think about it, you think about what NC State fans really want, it's consistency. And it's this ability to not feel like shit for 4 months just for like a real quick high. Do drugs if you want that. But having a consistent not hating ourselves for 4 months of the year in a school that really cares about basketball isn't too much to ask. And unfortunately, for the most of Kevin Keatts' tenure, it hasn't worked out. And so we'll see what happens. Will Wade season, boys. Let's go.
Will Wade season. We got a couple of calls about like what constitutes the worst NC State, the worst in NC State basketball. I'll probably save a couple. I have two of them here in the hopper, but I'll save those for tomorrow, because I did think it was an interesting conversation in terms of the context of where we are in college basketball today and the ACC versus where we were, say, during the Les Robinson years. But I'll save the two sports phone calls I got about that for tomorrow. I got one more NC State one here.
Joe, I know the area code says Richmond, Virginia, but we're calling from South Jersey, home of the other Joe Giglio. But the missus and I, both Wolfpack alums, much prefer the Triangle Joe to this clown here at WIP. Anyway, that said, Mr. Giglio, we do have a mild disagreement. about your Keatts getting fired take. It's not that we want to be Creighton. We just wanted to meet expectations this year. That's all. I mean, I don't think anybody had high expectations for this state team, but we were picked to finish in the middle of the pack. If we finished in the middle of the pack, I think we would have been like, okay, let's let this contract run out. Let's see where we are. But it was just such a horrible season. I don't know. I don't know how you keep Keatts back and not like completely demoralize the whole NC State community, the students, the alums, everybody. So anyway, I think we had to move on. But living here in South Jersey, we really appreciate the connection to the Triangle sports scene. Giglio, if we see you on the shore this summer, I'll buy you a beer. Oh, no, wait, we go to Ocean City, so I can't buy you a beer. So anyway, thanks a lot. And last of all, Hassan Reddick, hometown guy. We hear he might be going back to the Panthers. Hope that works out. Go Pack, go Birds. See you. Goodbye.
Marrying all of our interests. I like it.
Go Birds.
I like
Go Birds. A lot of stuff in the YouTube comment section that maybe we'll get to a little bit later on in the week. Mark's great analysis. We got hearing all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff. Although there's been some interesting responses to you, and I'll defend you here a little bit. Like, this is the one that bothered me. This is from James. He used to be a huge fan of the show, but the more that Giglio became a Keatts apologist and tries to excuse the consistent poor performance of the team over the last 4 years, the less I want to listen to the show. The benchmark is not Creighton or some other non-Power 4 school. Benchmark is and always will be our neighbors. I'm beginning to wonder if you drank the Kool-Aid when you went on the UNC beat and decided NC State wasn't UNC's rival. James, buddy, a little harsh there. This is I'll speak to this here because I think this has been a consistent issue that I've tried to explain to people who listen to the show and interact with us and things like that. When we've talked about Kevin Keatts, or when we've talked about Dave Doran, and we talked about contracts and whether they should have the job or not, if you want to have the debate as to whether or not it's time for the coach to go, have at it. Have at it. I'm not going to be able to convince you one way or the other. And I think by now people have understood I'm very aware and understanding of why it was time for Keatts to go. And it's justified in the end. But don't confuse giving you context as to where NC State's financial situations are for reasons to keep, or it's just, hey, just so you know, this is what's up. There's a difference. And if that's something you don't want to hear, that's too bad, because you have to be honest about where NC State or really any other college program is. Carolina's in the same boat. If that's not what you want to hear, that's too bad, because that's just what the reality of the situation is. But I'll get back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast. If NC State seems to have their money in order, if they understand where it needs to go, and you got to be on the same page with your coach, then so be it. Clean slate, make it happen. But don't get mad at the podcast for I can't listen to you guys anymore or whatever, because you interpret us giving you the lay of the land, or specifically Joe giving you the lay of the land, as some sort of oh, you're glazing. Nah, man. First off, you get mad at me saying zinnies. If I hear another grown-ass man talking about glazing, you need to go outside and touch grass, okay? Anyway,
I'm not fun using it.
I'm not saying you. Plus, I say zinnies ironically.
Can we just do a whole summer show of who you'd rather be?
How about you do that when I'm on vacation for spring break?
Okay.
You could do a whole week. It's like infrastructure week. It's Shark Week.
Yes.
It's Shark Week. Who would you rather be week on the OG? You could
create me a graphic before you leave, though.
You can do that while I'm at Disneyland, because I want none of that conversation. None of that conversation whatsoever. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We'll see you tomorrow.